being in the SportsCenter heyday is such a I cherish it that I was there.
It's a foundation to what we went on to do and become. And again, I'd never had any inkling of ever being on television.
TV.
Yeah, never. But they were trying new stuff,
right?
Because by '88, SportsCenter was really teetering, and they brought in, of course, John Walsh, the legendary editor, managing editor,
right.
And they
Rolling Stone, right? And
Rolling Stone, Newsday, Washington Post.
Right.
Either that, he was really great, or he couldn't hold a job. Whatever it was, he was always at great places.
Yes.
But he was the mastermind behind that SportsCenter. And they experimented. They brought in people that hadn't done it before.
There you are with Berman right up there in the old
that's
school
when
days.
we did one of the commercials for the 60s.
That's right. Yeah. Right. A
And they
SportsCenter of
gave
the
Boomer
60s.
a very bad wig.
I just remember, again, when I walked in the door there, I was 26 in 1996. And I just remember walking in there, and it was everybody who I'd seen on television. And now you guys are automatically my colleagues, and I was blown away by that. And it was you, Bob Lee, and Robin Roberts doing the early SportsCenter, the early evening SportsCenter. I know you said it was 7 when the Carl Lewis stuff happened 30 years ago. When I first arrived there, it was 6 o'clock SportsCenter.
It varied from
Eastern.
6, 6:30, 7.
It had kind of fixed at 6 o'clock when I walked in the door. And it was Dan and Keith and the big show.
Right.
And then the evening show, the 2 a.m. SportsCenter or 2:30 a.m. SportsCenter when I first arrived there was, the spot where Kilborn was doing his thing, and Brett Haber was there, and Carl Ravitch. Tirico had kind of already moved out and started doing other things.
All right.
And he would then come back every now and then. And I did a few SportsCenters with him. And Linda Cohn was doing a ton of shows. And then they hooked Stuart and I up together. And we kind of did that over and over again for 6 years.
What was so wonderful about it, and you and Stuart had it, Bob and I and Bob and Robin and I had it. Yeah. Bob and Robin are friends of mine to this day. And chemistry happens. You can't invent it. You can't create it. Either you have it or you don't. You guys had it. We had it. Dan
and Keith sure had it.
Yeah. It was sometimes combustible chemistry.
But that is part of what I think also made it so great, is that on occasion we were skating on the edge.
Yes.
We were on the razor's edge.
You know what also, in retrospect, I think made that group happen when it did? The fact that we were in Bristol, Connecticut. There was nothing else. We were one another's families.
Yes.
Because there was nothing else to do. There was no place else to go. There were like 2 movie theaters within a country mile or country miles. And so we were this family, occasionally dysfunctional, but a family that, again, in retrospect, was far more talented than I ever gave it credit for when we were there.
And it also met a certain time, too, because I have given this a lot of thought. It was before, these phones.
Absolutely.
And it was before, the internet was, I'll be honest, I know I'm dating myself, but the internet was just getting started.
Yeah.
And
it was a non-factor at that point.
Correct. And I know management knew that this was going to be something they needed to mine, all right, and get, ESPNGo.com going. Right. And they had their own phones too. But before all of that, people were still tuning into SportsCenter to see something maybe for the first time or for the only time after seeing it live. And we were there to tell them the story.
They watched our show, the early show, Bob and Robin and I, to find out what they had missed during the day.
Right.
They turned into Keith and Dan to watch the highlights of what had transpired because, again, there was not that wide panoply of games to watch because there weren't. And so at least we were able to take in the video and edit them up. And then the Late Show was kind of a combination of the two. And I remember what a big deal it was when they started to re-air the 2:30. And the only reason they did that was in the morning at 8 a.m., there was Body by Jake.
That's right, Jake Steinfeld.
Yeah, who I see all the time.
Right.
And so they had those kinds of shows in the morning, and somebody went up to Steve Bornstein, who was the president of the network at the time, and said, what do we need this Body by Jake nonsense for? Why not some highlights? And with that, the re-airs began.
And then you started getting earlier and earlier, believe it or not, because Steve Bornstein wanted to have something to watch while he was doing his workouts in the morning.
Exactly,
and he had
right.
enough swing to say, hey, call up the programming department, put it on earlier and earlier.
And that's what they did.
Exactly. And I wound up, because I did those sports centers in the middle of the night and got re-aired throughout from 6 a.m. to 1 in the afternoon.
Right.
I had the most, even probably to this day, the most exposure of my career while I was asleep. Out like a light at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and it was unreal. I still have people coming up to me today, Charlie, saying, I
woke up with you.
I woke up. I went, or the one that really is the mind blower is I watched you and Stu before getting on the bus to go to school.
Oh.
I get that a lot. But I love it. I know obviously it makes me feel older, but there's nothing like that. I mean, it's a connection that I don't know, that I would love to replicate here every day, and I hope that I do, with people who take in the show and listen to it and watch it, that they feel like what we're saying is a wink and a nod to them.
Yes.
And if they don't get it, they know they might be missing out on something and want to.
And if they don't get it, you've humored yourself.
What did I say the other day to you? I'm like, at least I'm making myself laugh right here.
That's what it's all about.
And that's what it is. And now, having been around for so long, young broadcasters, we just hired Stephen Nelson to add to the TV crew. Talked to him the other day, and, he grew up watching. Mm-hmm. I mean, really grew up. He was preteen watching. And so, again, we were lucky. We were just at a time where ESPN and SportsCenter grew exponentially, and we were just on the rocket ship.
And having fun.
Yeah.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.